Let's now talk about all the great ways that Canva allows you to collaborate with other people on your projects. Now, earlier we talked about the ability to create new folders. Now, if we go back to that folder we created earlier for our safety, by going over here to projects, you'll see that there is this section here called folders, and there it is, my safety images. Now, I might want to share that folder with other people, so anytime I add something into that folder, all my collaborators can then access it, and then they can also update it themselves. So if I now click on my ellipsis, you'll see here is this option to share. Now I'm sharing just this particular folder. So when I click on share, you'll see here it says, people with edit access can now share folders and their contents, as well as update permissions for other team members. So if I wanted to, I can now add other people to this. Add people, groups, and emails. So if I now just go ahead and type out an email, bob@billybob.net. Okay, and you can see here now I'm sending this to Bob, and now I have the option to give Bob different permission levels of either editing levels, or Bob can just view. He won't be able to actually really make any changes. So now I can just say share folder when I'm ready. Now you'll notice that share folder is currently grayed out because it tells me that you can only share folders with your team members. So that's very important. You can't just start sharing, you have to actually create a team. So we're going to do a little bit of a sidebar on how you do that. So let me go ahead and close this out. I'm going to come back to my home once again, click back on home, and then you'll see over there in the upper right is me, my information. I click on that, and then just click on create a team, and then from here you can start adding people onto your team. Now if I was part of a company, some type of side project, then all I need to do is just create my team. Let's just say I had about 20 people on that team. I invite everybody. And then after that, if I wanted to share my folder with only a select number of people on that team, I can do that. But once again, it's very important to understand that you need to have a team created, and then only people who are part of that team can then be invited to share your folder. I'm going to go ahead and get out of this for right now, and then I'm going to return back to where I was before. Another thing you can do is you can share just this particular project. So if I click over here on share in the upper right, you'll see now again I have this option to then just share this particular design, and I can type in their email address. I can also click on this little plus sign, and pretty much it's going to be the same exact thing. I'm going to go ahead and get out of that. Now you also have this collaboration link. Notice here it says only you can access. When you click on that drop down, you also have the option to say anyone with the link can access the design using this link, no sign-in required. So it's quite possible that you're just trying to make it public for all the world to see. Maybe it's for your company, maybe it's for your own portfolio piece, right? So up to you. Now I'm going to go ahead and click away. And then just notice here I can just very simply copy that link and then share it accordingly. Now down below, you'll see that we have a whole bunch of other sharing options as well as downloading options. We're going to talk about this in a next lesson, but we also talked about this in a previous lesson when we talked about PowerPoint. But let's now click on this little ellipsis to say see all. And you're going to notice that there's a lot of sharing options here. We've already talked about the ability to present using our presentation mode, but you can also do that when you're looking at any kind of design at all. Here's a link to your public view. You can also get a link to a template. If I click on that, you'll see here anyone with the link can use this design as a template. Sign in is required, but you won't know who has made copies of the design. So you may actually want to make this live, especially if you're starting to work with other people on your templates and you want to share it with them so they have just as much access to it as you do, to allow for that greater level of collaboration. Let's go ahead and get back out of that. And let's just briefly go through some of these other ones. Maybe you want to present and record. Maybe you want to copy this to a clipboard and you can go ahead and paste it someplace else. You can also make a link to your design as a QR code. Here's another way to save something to a folder. We saw that earlier. You can send this to your phone. You can also embed this using HTML code. So if I click on that, you'll notice here, embed your design on Medium, WordPress, or your own website. It will always update automatically. And when I click on embed, you're going to see I'm going to get all this HTML code, or I can even use a URL to do just the same thing. I'm going to go ahead and go back to that. And then you can also put it on a website. So I click on that now. You also can publish your own website on my.canva.site. But that's a little bit beyond the scope of this class. Let's go ahead and click out of this. go back to share, and then click back on see all. And then if you take a look at some of these other options for downloading, once again, we're going to get into some of these in an upcoming lesson. But let's just go ahead and skip over this one and go over here to social. Notice all these options here for Instagram, Facebook, messaging, and then even some of these external programs like Hazing, Simple Booklet, and even the option to print, again, using some of these third-party programs. So it really is about sharing, collaborating, but also the option for publishing some of your content. So they do really give you lots and lots of options here. Okay, so let's go ahead and get out of that. And then what we're going to talk about in the next lesson is finally exporting it, so then you can have it on your computer in a variety of different formats. And we will show you that in the next lesson.